Socceroos complete a 6-point window to get back on track for auto qualification. Forget the Never Say Die Matildas. The Perth Glory women still in with a shout of finals after a late Izzy Folletta cameo. And all the winners and losers from the local leagues as Perth Glory lead the way in the NPL. Welcome to the Far Post Perth, presented by ID Athletic. For all your merchandise requirements, for all your kits ahead of the upcoming season and everything else, visit idathletic.com. And of course, Trio Homes, if you're looking to build, redesign or renovate, visit triohomes.com.au. Blayne Treadgold is my name. With me on this episode, to my left, Mr. James Renton. Welcome back, mate.
Great to be back.
We have got Jaxon Bassett with us.
Hello, hello.
And the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Neil Sherwin. How's things, mate?
Yeah, look at us.
Yeah.
12 o'clock on a Wednesday.
It's all a bit weird. Well, we're just
hard workers.
Well, just to explain to everyone, this episode is a little bit later. Of course, we had the Socceroos primetime last night, so we've got a bit of a Socceroos Special edition. Important to talk about the national team from time to time. There's no Perth Glory happening at the moment, so we'll chat a fair bit about the Socceroos. We'll have a chat about the Perth Glory women. What a win it was! A dramatic late winner from Izzy Folletta to keep the girls in with a shout of finals. And, I guess we'll just have a bit of a chat about the local leagues, NPL, and see what's happening a little bit more locally. But we have to get started in the way that we always get started. Mr. Renton, kick us off with your good from our good, bad and ugly.
Yeah, well, I'm going to be fairly obvious, but the Socceroos putting in, I felt, two good performances and getting wins. I think that was the important thing for these two games, because obviously with the table being as congested as it was, and the teams biting at our heels, we couldn't afford to stuff it up. And I felt that in the two games against Indonesia and China, while they weren't, let's say, complete amazing performances for 90 minutes, I felt we managed them really well. And that was something that I personally expected when we brought in a coach like Tony Popovic. I'd expected the team to be well drilled and to understand what their roles would be from a defensive and offensive perspective. And then to get a good result away against China in front of, was it 70,000 fans or something like that? It was ridiculous.
Enough. Yeah.
Credit to the Socceroos, because, Aussie soccer fans in particular don't mind giving the Socceroos some shit over the years, but that's because their performances and results have deserved it. But I think it's important to praise them when they do well. And I think in these two games in particular, we've done, I'd say, quite well, and we've put ourselves in a good position to hopefully automatically qualify.
Jackson, you've got your replica spew shirt on today, mate, so you must be pretty happy with the way the Socceroos have gone over, particularly this window, to get back on track.
Yeah, very happy, and they needed to. With the 2 games left to go against Japan and Saudi, who are the 2 best teams that we're going to face in the group, we did need to get some points on the board, and we put ourselves in prime position to advance straight through for the first time since 2014, and it's going to make it a lot easier just to get through. Hopefully, when they come to Perth, we can put on a show and nail that qualification down in that game. But if not, then we've got Saudi Arabia in what could be a do-or-die clash to see who goes through.
Hibbers, going with your good, mate?
I'll go with a fairly obvious one, and I know we mentioned already the Glory Girls and Isabella Folletta with that winning goal. Yeah. They needed to keep winning, and they have found a way to do so. Other results do have to go their way, and it did help that Brisbane lost to Adelaide, and Brisbane's game in hand is being played later today against Melbourne City. That should be hopefully that goes our way as well. But just another stat that stood out for me is the Glory Girls have managed to stay in games and fight to the end, that never say die attitude. I think this stat sums it up perfectly when you compare it to the men's team, and that's this season, goals after the 90th minute, the women have scored 5 and the blokes have scored none.
Thanks.
Well, I mean, Neil, what do you put that down to? Do you put that down to a bit of luck? Do you put that down to attitudes, culture? I mean, how far can you look into that?
Character, I suppose. I think the thing that we've seen with the women's team is it's probably where we wanted the men's team to be as well. And I've mentioned this a couple of times, new coach, new batch of players. You don't expect miracles in season 1, probably not at the start of the year as well, but that you see progress and you see results as you get deeper into the year, and that's exactly what's happened with the women's team, and we haven't seen the same with the men. So I think it's probably a combination of coaching, playing group being together for a period of time, and also a bit of belief as well. You string a couple of results together, and all of a sudden, you feel like you knock anybody off, and scoring a winner in the 90 plus whatever minute is going to do anybody's confidence the world of good. So they've still got something to play for, and that's a big thing at this stage of the season, whereas we're looking at pretty much 5 dead rubbers for the men.
Yeah. A big 6-pointer, it must be said, this weekend against Canberra, Saturday night, but we'll talk a little bit more about that, mate. Keep us going with you good.
I had a really good international break because Australia won twice and Ireland won twice.
Did they?
Ireland
Go buy yourself a lottery ticket, mate.
Well, Ireland beat the world power that is Bulgaria twice over 2 legs to preserve their status in Group B of the Nations League. I still don't know how the Nations League works, but we didn't get relegated. So that's the headline. I thought I don't really like the Nations League. It messes with my old head, how it all works in terms of qualification for tournaments and promotion, relegation and whatnot. But I did see some pretty good games between the big hitters. You're getting a lot of games where top nations are playing each other. Spain and Holland went to penalties, and you had Italy and Germany. It was a belter of a game. France and Croatia. There's some really good fixtures. And then this morning we had Argentina beat Brazil 4-1 in a game, and there's just a lot of good football. It'll lead into my ugly, but in terms of being a good international break, as good as it can get, Ireland won twice, Australia won twice. Yep. Lock it up. That's it.
Happy days. My good, and I guess just reflecting a little bit more on the Socceroos, is the way that Tony Popovic has come in and taken this team. Recalling our chat with Dino Djulvic and just reflecting on his time under Popovic, it's the 1%ers, and it's sometimes the 1%ers that the Socceroos, when you go away to these far-flung places, haven't always been on top of. Everything from, reflecting on that conversation, just moving yourself half a yard, simple things like that just add up to an overall performance. No, don't get me wrong, it wasn't an overall performance, but you start getting these little things right, generally the big things start to come. The big thing is automatic qualification. Everything, we can go through all the fat rolls, and, we talked about no lollies in camp and everything else like that. But I mean, if that's what it takes for automatic qualification, that's what you do. And I think Tony Popovic remains unbeaten in his tenure as a Socceroos coach.
Got a points per game average, I think, of 2. So, that's what we expected, though, from Popper. An elite level coach, relative to Australian football, we'd be expecting to see the team improve in those small details in particular.
Yep. Keep us going, mate. What's not been so good?
I'll keep it somewhat on the Socceroos, and it's a little bit of a small gripe. But with Adam Taggart and Cassini Yengi not being available due to injury, I think that would have been a great time for Popper to have brought in someone like Noah Botic to have had a go in the setup. I know he had his reasons when he was asked in his press conference at Sydney as to why he didn't include Noah. But I think we need to be, for as much as it's important to focus on the now, which is what he's done with bringing in a lot of experienced players and players that he knows, we have to have an eye on the future. And I think, bringing in Mitch Duke, for as much as he has been a serviceable player for the Socceroos, I wouldn't have been opposed to having someone like Noah Botic, who's been really impressive in the A-League this season. And for him to, even if he doesn't play, for him to be involved in that camp, to learn under Popper, to see how the guys at the top of their game are training and playing, that would have been so valuable for him. And
just foreign conditions, jumping on long-haul flights, the whole
and getting a taste for it, because, you're not going to get that at, the junior level with the under-20s, under-23s. So I think, he is someone that, if he continues at this trajectory, will make the Socceroos, but I think in the long run, consistently. But I think it would have been nice in that same way to have had him in the squad, and if he wasn't going to play, at least he'd be exposed to the type of culture and the demands that Popper is wanting from young players like Noah.
Had Adam Taggart and Cassini Yengi not gone out and there was that extra opportunity, you probably make a fair... I think you make a fair point anyway, but just scoring on the world stage... Mitch Duke has done that, so you're taking a bigger gamble, I guess.
Yeah. You've still got enough offensive options though, in case Botic, let's say, doesn't score. You've still got players that can create. You've still got players that can score. You've still got a system that Popper's already implemented that the players seem to understand fairly well and execute to a fairly good level.
There was probably also the familiarity with those conditions that Mitchell Duke would have.
Yeah, of course.
Playing up there in Asia and that's where it probably just gets the X factor for me. But
I think you can also only blood so many players at the same time.
That's a fair point also.
True.
Played Ryan Teague,
who was outstanding, I thought, last night. Yeah.
So I get bringing players into camp and whatnot, and maybe having train on players and that kind of thing. Maybe that's a something to do and ease them in. But yeah, you're in these must-win games. If Australia were cruising at the top of the table like Japan are and pretty much secured qualification, I'd completely agree. Bring in some of these young guys and give them 20 minutes, whatever it might be. But these are must-win games, and better the devil you know when it comes to that. I think a lot of coaches will put their faith in the tried and trusted, but at the same time, Ryan Teague did start over some other more experienced midfielders in the squad, so it's not like he's ignoring everybody. But I think, you pick and choose your moments to put people in. So I can't really complain. He's at 2 wins out of 2 in this window and other good results. So it's a fair call. I just think that in Papa we trust. Is that what we're doing?
Yeah,
right?
I think that's what we're going with. Right.
Cool.
Yeah. Keep us going, Jackson. What was not so good?
Well, I had Adam Taggart's injury from a Glory perspective, and he missed the second game, and it doesn't seem like it's as bad, but it's a worry for the last 5 games for Glory because he's such an important part of the attack, which has really struggled this season. And even if he is playing, he's probably not going to be 100%. And Taggart not at 100% is going to make life a lot more difficult for Glory to try and get results, which they desperately need in the last part of the season to try and save face for old man Driller.
We spoke just a little bit before we hit the record button about Joel Anasmo, who had a great game in the NPL. Opportunity now, I think many of us would agree.
Yeah,
not that he's absolutely going to be able to live up to Taggart's standards, but there's a gap there.
Well, he's started 1 game for Glory last season that was up top with Taggart. The other option is Patrick Wood, Neil's favourite. So, I mean, wait and see. Hopefully Taggart is fit and he's able to start against Central Coast on Sunday. But if not, there is other options, and I think Joel would be a good one.
Yep. Neil, keep us going, mate. What's been not so good?
I don't like the international break.
So, you just said you had a brilliant international break.
Exactly, as the international breaks go, it was great, but I don't like them. I watched a lot of AFL at the weekend.
Why don't you like the international break?
Because it's international football, and
you just don't like international football.
I don't mind it. I'm not as.
There's a different feel. There's a different feel to it, and I understand it can be disruptive. Like I find myself struggling to get out of club mode, international mode.
I think there's too many international
again.
windows is probably that.
How many is it across the calendar?
There's I know there's August because I'm hopefully going to see Ireland and Hungary. I
hope I hate
international football. I'm going to go watch what promises to be an absolute terrible game in Dublin in August. There's August, there's October, November, and we've got the one now, and I think there's June as well. So June international window. There's five or so at least.
Yeah.
I get it. It serves a purpose, but there's so many games, and as I said, I don't understand the Nations League yet. But also, most of the games are crap times for us. Like Italy, Germany at 3:00 in the morning. I mean, my league to watch. Just that I can sit down on the sofa all day Saturday. I did watch, as I said, a lot of AFL instead. So there is some alternatives. I've been watching some F1, but I just like having my Saturdays with football on. And I think the international break sabotages that. That's all.
Sure. Yeah, no, right, yeah.
But I say still, look, I'll be going to Ireland, Hungary,
different
and I'll be going to Australia, Japan, so I can't hate it that much.
Yeah, well, exactly right. You're a little bit all over the shop at the moment. My bad, and it's something that I've kind of had a bit of involvement with, and that is the crowds, not necessarily the numbers. Even though I probably expected a little bit more than 35,000 last week against
that's my ugly 35,000 is shit. It's dreadful in Sydney now
for a city of 5 to 6 million.
Yeah, just to go back to part of the reason why I hate the international break, and maybe it's a reason for the crowds, is the games are Thursday and Tuesday. If if Australia are playing Saturday night, I probably don't hate it as much. But Thursday, Tuesday, and it probably does contribute to crowds. And I know that's a lame excuse, really. It's their national team. You should be getting out and supporting them when you're in the city. But we know all too well that midweek sport does not draw the numbers.
It doesn't. As far as quantity, I wanted to talk about quality though, and I was reflecting on the amount of comments on social media. And don't get me wrong, social media is not always the greatest gauge of sensible people and informed comments and everything else. But there was a lot of, why can't we have the same atmosphere China's got? Look at that crowd. Isn't that fantastic?
That was me. Why are they all in nice red shirts, and why can't we all be coordinated like that? Yeah.
Well, it's not even that, but it looked
the atmosphere. Great.
It did look great.
Proper support.
And I get it comes down to culture, and you know, it was the energy as well that went along with that. It was the effort that goes into support. There was plenty of flags. There was the nice little flag, you know, tifo, the drape over kind of thing. And we are awe at other nations, but when it comes to trying to do it ourselves, nobody's willing to step up to the plate. There's plenty of well-intentioned people, and as I said, as someone who kind of grew up on the terrace a little bit and was involved with that and tried to drive a fair bit of that. And I think it comes down to the old tall poppy syndrome. And away from football, we have some of the most passive crowds at concerts. They are terribly boring.
AFL crowds.
AFL crowds are terrible.
Actually, when you speak of concerts, it was pointed out when Blink-182 were here last year.
Yeah.
They commented how bad the first crowd was.
They are. I remember being, and this is a little bit off tangent, but I remember being in the seated section for an Arctic Monkeys concert, and there was a whole row of us who stood up and just started to have a bit of a dance and a jig and everything else like that. We got told to sit down. People behind us couldn't see.
If it was during the more recent Arctic Monkeys material, I probably would have sat down with my arms folded as well.
No, it was what was it? It was the
lounge music.
I think it was the AM.
Yeah,
and they still played a couple of the old things.
You are right.
Australian crowds are terrible, terribly passive. And I wonder if it's all coming back to that kind of tall poppy syndrome, that whole egalitarian, nobody wants to stick their head up and get kind of called out or anything else like that. So everyone just sits in their little armchairs and just deals with this and deals with that. Back to my point about active support, I think there's a fair bit of that goes on there, is that you don't want to be seen as someone who's above the crowd or trying to drive something.
Well, you're probably also jaded from the fact that part of the glamour and glitz that was with China last night was massive flags being waved, and they were on poles. You're not getting them into the stadium here, are you?
Well, you can get them approved. There is.
Come on, we've had more than enough. People are probably just fed up of dealing with process and jobs works.
I think
that's probably turned a few things off. We could have banners, but anything that seems to get tried either gets blocked in some way, shape or form. It's a long process, or it gets shat on. So, I do think some people are probably just jaded from it as well. I completely agree with you. The crowds are pretty shit. You go to AFL and it's Eagles, clap, clap, clap. Rio, clap, clap, clap. Whoever the out-of-town team is, clap, clap, clap.
Or a bit of abuse to the umpires.
Just on that, I have noticed there's like a little bit more of a push. I mean, I don't like the term active support in inverted commas, but there's a little bit more of a push from other codes to try and get that involved.
Parramatta Eels was there last week. With their march.
Whereas what
Raptors.
Whereas what we're doing is we've had our active support pretty much shut down from the authorities.
Yeah, because
as well. That's the other side of it too. So, I mean, we can go right down a rabbit hole there, but all in all, my bad is the crowds. There's room for improvement. Absolutely. Yeah. So much improvement. Keep us going, mate. What's been ugly?
The radio silence from Perth Glory Football Club. Probably a bit of an obvious one. And maybe they thought they could, die for cover knowing that it was going to be the international break. But I haven't seen the fan base as unified as they were in a way after the Brisbane game, that either change needs to happen or there needs to be a sense of accountability. Because where the club is currently at in terms of the men's side, it's embarrassing, and it's been embarrassing for too long. And when there's only one home game left, being Adelaide United, what's the incentive for any fan to want to go out and see it? There's more incentive to go out and see the women's team play, because at least they're going to fight to the end. They've got something to play for. They've got the finals.
And there was a great crowd down there, it must be said.
I think it was the second or third highest, if I'm not wrong, compared to all the other ALW games. So that's the thing. the men's team have been dreadful for a long time, and this season is probably one of the worst in recent memory. Just how bad it's been at both ends, and the club has to come out at some point, specifically Stan Lazaridis or someone of that nature, to say either David Drulich needs to get the team to perform more, or there will be discussions at the end of the season in relation to his position and the squad's position, because we need to try and get the fans back on board with the club in a positive way, rather than just going, oh, for fuck's sake, Glory are playing. I don't want anything to do with them. I can't stand the coach. Or I can't stand the way we play. I can't stand the results. So, I think there needs to be a strong sense of accountability, and it needs to come from the very top at the club, I feel.
Yeah, I mean, this is something we spoke about last week, and we haven't heard anything from the ownership group, CEO, Stan Lazaridis. There's been nothing come out through the media department as far as I've seen. So, I mean, I don't know.
Do you expect us to swallow it? That's the thing. It's from the club. That's my question.
Yeah, I mean, you'd really want to hope that, hey, if we just don't say anything, maybe it'll all go away. You know what I mean?
Go away until they play again.
Well, yeah.
Then we'll come straight back
until we come back to club football from international break. But yeah, no, I certainly see it. What can they do? I'll put it this way: what would you like them to come out and say?
Not being good enough, and I would have liked for a change to have occurred over the international break, or at least a brief to the media that they are looking at options for next season. They're not going to do it. But in an ideal world,
but they're not moving on from Australia.
No, that's the issue. So, but if it was up to me, and if we could have seen that, I would have been content with that, or just an acknowledgement that it's not been good enough, or something.
But if it's not happening, what should they do?
Try and leak ideas as to who they wanted to target in the sense of player recruitment. There was a Scottish report a couple of weeks ago that, Gloria is still interested in Martin Boyle, and obviously the link up between Tags and Boyle in that Indonesia game was outstanding, as we saw, here in Perth when the Socceroos played Palestine, and Taggart and Boyle were absolutely tearing it apart, and you had Lazaridis that was going, we'll keep the conversation going. Just something positive for us to talk about, or even having, I think it was suggested last week as well, like someone having their contract extended, like Luke Amos, for example, like extend his contract. And then the fans can go, okay, we're building something positive. So I'd rather be talking about the club. I think we all would rather be talking about the club in a positive sense, rather than, here we go. We're back in that cycle of negativity, or that we're not going anywhere.
Yeah. Jackson, keep us rolling, mate.
Yeah, I've got the same thing as James said.
Yeah.
I think all fans want is just open communication, and we got a lot of that before the season started in the first couple of weeks. Then obviously since things have gone downhill, that's just all kind of faded away. I think my solution is, if we're going to keep Drulich, the club should just come out and just be honest with the fans and say, yep, this season hasn't gone well, but if they're going to keep him, we're going to put faith in him to turn it around, and there's going to be more news coming out soon about signings and re-signings. So if they are going,
that's it,
yeah, just something, just give us something, because I think, like your point, who's going to want to come out and watch the last game of the season if we're going to just fall over and just roll over and lose the last 5 games convincingly, and you're not giving your fans anything. So just something, just give us something, and then we can look at next season.
Neil, what's been ugly, mate?
Yeah, well, the crowd. You said about the crowd actives. I'm going to say the numbers. I thought 35,000 in Sydney for a must-win qualifier is a disgrace, really. They should be selling out. What's that stadium hall? 45,000?
I think it's up about 45 at the moment. Yeah,
rubbish to only get 35,000. So for me, that game should be selling out. And I'll say the exact same thing if we don't sell out Optus in June. Japan, it does not get any bigger in Asia than a game that if you win that game, you're going to the World Cup. But that's what it comes down to. A draw might be enough, but you want to play that game to win it. Beat Japan at home and go to the World Cup. Like, that would be a phenomenal experience for any football fan to be part of who follows the national team. So in a city of, you mentioned about Sydney's population, in a city of our population, you should be getting 60,000 people to that game without a doubt, and it should be a great occasion. And like I say, with all these international friendlies that come over, if we don't go and watch them, they're not going to come back. These games are bought, let's face it, by the government. They put money into it to bring the tourism here and to bring the games here. If we don't support it, the government just won't do it again. So I think, people are blasé towards club friendlies and whatnot, and they have their reasons for that. But a World Cup qualifier where you can go to the World Cup with a win, why would you not go to that as a football fan?
It doesn't happen too often in Perth, particularly.
I'd like to hear the logic of, just your standard football fan here, why they wouldn't do everything they can to, with plenty of notice, to get to that game, because it's huge. And you can point to Optus being a bad stadium for football and shit sightlines and all of that. Well, the game last night in China was held with a massive running track around it, and it didn't stop 70,000 people turning up to that. So I think we should be doing everything in our power to get that stadium filled for Thursday, the 5th of June against Japan. I can't wait for it personally. Phenomenal
I'm
fixture.
Looking forward to it. And
is that the biggest game we've ever held here? You're watching games here longer than me.
Yeah, it has to be.
And imagine
it's a bit more glam than your Bangladesh and
Palestine. Absolutely. Arguably it is. Yeah,
the biggest international we'd have ever held.
Yeah, and one that means something as well.
That's what I mean. Yeah, it's not your phase one qualifier.
But that's the thing, that because it means so much, in theory we should be seeing good atmosphere naturally generated by the crowd, because it is such a big game and is a big must win against one of our international rivals, so to speak. You would think naturally we would get that atmosphere, especially if the Socceroos play well, or if it's a tight game and, the Socceroos are having an attack like the last 5-10 minutes. That will lift the crowd.
I think we've been a bit spoiled as well. As someone who grew up in the bad old days where we huffed and puffed and never made a World Cup, that was some pretty dark times for Australian football, and now we've been pretty spoiled.
And you can't hide behind the fact that it is easier to qualify for this World Cup with it extended to 48 teams and all of that. And I don't expect Australia to do much when they get to the World Cup, but having the opportunity to watch and celebrate, take the Friday off, go for a few beers, hopefully celebrate a win against Japan. We might not get a game like this for a long, long time again, where there's actually something riding on it, and it's in our backyard. So I think everybody should be going to it. But hey,
no, it'll be awesome. Yeah, very much looking forward to that. Just to finish off, boys, my ugly is just the way that the stadia for the 2032 Olympics, obviously it's more broader than just football, and I understand that, but where I get a bug in my bonnet about most of this is just non-Olympic sports just absolutely scoffing the legacy of the Olympic Games. And an Olympic sport such as football just left their feet on the crumbs. And we shouldn't be surprised. And everyone will say, oh, well, didn't you see this coming? Well, yeah, we did see it coming. Doesn't make it bloody right as far as I'm concerned. Football's going to be played in Cairns, for God's sake.
Cairns and Townsville. I've never been to either. I'm actually thinking of a little jolly myself, so I'm not disappointed.
Enjoy the crocodiles and the 98% humidity.
Well, from that perspective, though, it could make for a pretty cool trip, but to your point, decentralizing it from where the Olympics is being held,
not practical.
It's silly, and if you want to go to multi events and whatnot, and that's the draw of the Olympics, right? I've had friends. I've never been to an Olympics, and I was keen to go, and I've had friends that've gone to Paris and gone to London, and they've just stuck their name in a hat for anything, and they've ended up at fencing and table tennis. But it's been the experience.
You become an instant expert as well.
It's that you'd be watching YouTube videos where you go learning the rules and then having somebody to cheer on, and that's the appeal of it, right? But you also do kind of want to go to one of your specialist sports. If it's not going to be an option, it is terrible. But you're right, and it points to it's probably something a little bit local as well. We've just had the election here, obviously, and we have the receipts of promises from people, and now that they're elected and they're in their seats, it'll be quite interesting to see how long it takes for them to follow through on the election promises of funding, because there was quite some substantial amounts of money promised to football clubs, and it's badly needed for upgrading facilities, change rooms, lights, all the usual stuff that we have been second-class citizens for. Is there room for any of that to be shifted elsewhere now that they've got their feet under the desk?
Just as far as Perry Park, obviously not included as part of the Olympic plans, but Vince Rugari actually came out yesterday and said, look, there's still a thought that could be upgraded to become a decent venue,
stadium.
a proper venue as far as I think I don't want to say 20,000, but I want to say 20,000 as a ballpark figure.
It's been a subject of debate for a long time, obviously for the Brisbane Roar fans, and Suncorp is just not fit for purpose for what
it's far too big,
and the pitch is shit. Also, it's like
I'm surprised that Suncorp's not used for the football and the rugby. It just doesn't. I think Suncorp, when full, is an absolutely fantastic stadium. I remember being there for the Socceroos when they played in the Asian Cup in 2015. That was pretty full and fantastic. I mean, we can even go back to Suncorp for the 2012 grand final.
The infamous grand final.
If we want to talk about that as well. But just shits me off, I guess. And does it come back to football's lobbying power? Does it come back to the proactivity within the football organisation? Does it come back to, at the end of the day, just no one really gives a shit, and the AFL and cricket do, and that's the way the cookie crumbles. So there's a number of different ways you can look at it, but it just gives me the shits either way.
Probably a mix of all that. And then the caveat with Suncorp is when it's full. And it's very rarely full.
And I mean, I can't remember the last time there was a semi-decent crowd for a Brisbane Roar game.
No, they've been struggling for crowds for a fair bit now.
Yeah. So, I mean, Perry Park is ideal. I mean, that's essentially what you want across Australia. Is 30, 20,000 seaters.
That's like your
ideal.
Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's your ideal A-League venue.
But yeah, there we go. Well, that is good, bad, and ugly for another week, boys. That's taken us a fair bit into the pod. So we're going to take a quick break, and we'll go a bit deeper on the Socceroos after this.
Tired of the same old cookie-cutter home designs? Dreaming of a space that truly reflects you? Then it's time to talk to the team at Trio Homes. Whether you're looking to build your dream home, redesign your current space, or simply renovate, Trio Homes is committed to unique designs, local personalised service and quality workmanship. And with former Perth Glory star Dino Julbich at the helm, you'll know you're getting passion and dedication built into every project. Discover the difference with Trio Homes. Visit triohomes.com.au.
What a run! This could be the one! It's in! That's what it's all about! And when it comes to sports gear that helps you perform your best, ID Athletic has the winning formula. From grassroots clubs to elite athletes, ID Athletic provides high-quality sporting apparel, screen printing, embroidery, and made-to-order promotional products. Proud sponsors of the Far Post Perth and passionate supporters of WA community sport. Visit ID Athletic at 84 Howe Street, Osborne Park, or online at idathletic.com. ID Athletic. Build your identity.
Welcome back to the Far Post Perth podcast presented by ID Athletic and Trio Homes. Big thank you to those two organisations for their ongoing support. Big week, boys, for the Socceroos. We kind of touched on it a little bit earlier on. Let's go back to quick breakdown of the Indonesia match there, James. Yep. First 10, 15 minutes, absolutely appalling. Get a fair bit of share of Australia's luck.
Yep.
Indonesia hit the post, Socceroos go up the other end, and the floodgates open.
Yeah. You summed it up very well. I think, obviously that penalty that the Indonesians had was a bit contentious in terms of whether there was much contact from Kai Rolls.
But just on that though, not enough to overturn it.
Yeah.
Once the referee's given that, that's the end of that.
Yeah, but I think overall it went back to my point that I was making when we were first talking about the Socceroos in this episode. It wasn't necessarily a complete 90-minute performance, but it was enough there where we can go, they're a Popovic team now, where they can be efficient when they attack. And, when you've got quality like Taggart and Martin Boyle, who can link up as well as they do, and Taggart for his hold-up play for that second goal where, it's great from Boyle to find Taggart, and then Taggart's holding it up and then flicks it over to Velupile, and the speed at which the Socceroos attack and just how in sync they are. This is something that we were to expect under Tony Popovic, and it's good to see that, we're getting the results for it. And I thought against Indonesia, while we didn't dominate possession, we had effective possession. And when we transitioned, everyone knew what to do. And likewise, when we didn't have the ball, Australia were very compact. And that was also something that I would expect from a Popovic team. And I think we're in a really good place. I like how we play, and hopefully upwards and onwards from here.
Jackson, thoughts on that Indonesian game?
Yeah, very lucky, obviously, that Dix ballsed up the penalty for the Indonesians, and then had the penalty at the other end and just kick-started on from there. So, yeah, that particular game was very strong. It's good that Jackson Irvine's played himself into a bit of form and is getting on the score sheet. I think it's important that you need midfielders who are going to be able to contribute further up the pitch. So the fact that he's been able to get on the score sheet is good. And then in the second half, a few of those deliveries from Craig Goodwin from set pieces were fantastic. And I think when we're playing Japan and Saudi, and when we get to the World Cup, and we're playing stronger teams, I think set pieces is an avenue that we're going to have to be quite strong at. And we've got some good players in the air, so the fact that he's been delivering some good crosses in, it's a good sign. And very impressed with that performance.
Yep. Neil, any thoughts on the Indonesia match?
I don't really care about the performance because that's what the first few games, your qualifiers, are for. But as soon as you drop 4 points out of 6 to Bahrain, it becomes just fucking win. Just win. Yeah. Whatever means possible, however ugly it is, whatever approach you have to the game. If you want to play 5 holding midfielders and you win 1-0, great, do it. And that's what they didn't play 5 holding midfielders. But Popovic has been accused of being negative and being more of a pragmatic setup with 3 at the back, potentially looking at 5 at the back at times, 2 defensive midfielders, and then seeing what happens. And don't concede goals, essentially. They conceded late against Indonesia, didn't concede against China. That represents job done in that regard defensively, and they scored quite a lot of goals. So the Indonesia performance was good after the first 15-20 minutes, but even if it was bad and they won the game, I really wouldn't care. This window was about getting points on the board, and because you're left with your 2 toughest games last, you play Japan and Saudi Arabia in your final 2 outings, you really didn't want to be going in there chasing not just points but positions as 100%. Well. So they're in a good position to qualify as the second team, and that's because they won games, not because they played well. Who cares about how they played?
Yeah. No, I think that's a fair enough point. Boys, obviously last night, 2-0 win over China. Decent first half, it must be said. Took their foot off the gas or had to absorb a fair bit of pressure. It depends which way you want to look at it. But enough in the end, ultimately.
Yeah, and I'll be a little bit critical of the Chinese defence. I mean, obviously, it was their intent to be somewhat physical and cause fouls or try and stop transition, stop momentum, and I can understand that. But some of their positioning from a structural perspective made it easy for the Socceroos to penetrate in between the lines. And obviously, you can look at it on that angle, but on the other angle, the Socceroos had to be technically sound enough to make those passes and make those combination plays and make those runs. And I think in the first half in particular, we really profited off of that. I thought that, I liked watching Irvine's goal, just the persistence and even before that, the run from Miller, cutting the ball back to Irvine, and then the finish from Irvine was excellent. Velupile, similar, driving at his opponent, and then instead of unleashing for a shot, he had the poise to play that little reverse pass, and then ball gets filtered out to Miller again, who I think has had a fairly solid 2 games in this window. But yeah, job done, and we didn't have to have a complete 90-minute performance. We got the result, a good result away from home against a side that had a fair bit of, with their fans created a really good atmosphere throughout the game, I felt. So a really important result for the Socceroos, and hopefully they can build on it leading into 2 massive games in the next window.
Some bright sparks for me. Of course, we mentioned Ryan Teague. I thought he was outstanding on debut last night. I think he had a great game, but also Nishan Velupile has come into this side almost seamlessly. Yeah, he's got a bit of luck here and there, but I mean, you get presented chances and you need to take him to the bank.
That's the thing, and we probably all went, mate, what's Papa doing putting Velupile in the Socceroos squad? But he's repaying the faith, and I think that's been something that's we wanted to see with the players that have been selected.
Yep.
And I think, those players that had some question marks over their selections, quite a few of them have, said, no, we deserve to be here. And I think playing under Popper has taken them to another level.
Any standouts for you, Jackson, Neil?
I think the biggest winner of the whole window is Matt Ryan. I thought
I think he's
solid.
Joe Gauchi's injury obviously gave him his spot back, but I think he was very, very good in both games. He's not the tallest of goalkeepers, and I think that played into China's tactic last night, where they lined everybody up on the goal line for corners and dropped the ball in on top of the defence and Ryan, and he dealt with everything really well. It's like when you're out in the back garden and somebody has a footy and they just kick it up in the air and whoever
King of the Pack.
that whole thing that you guys do over here, it was a bit like that, and Ryan was very good under the high ball. I thought he dealt with the physicality of it really well. He also made some great saves. I know that one of the shots was straight at him, and Serginho's shot was straight at him, but good strong hand. We saw what happened when the Chinese keeper had a shot straight at him. So nothing's for certain. And I think he's just had he probably. This is the thing from me with Matt Ryan. It's probably a sign of him playing regularly now. Going to Roma, and he was going to be number 2 from when he joined. He was not first choice at Arsenal. Not a great time.
Where's he? Lawrence?
Yeah. And he's actually playing now. And I think for goalkeepers at his age, it's important to be playing. He's in his prime. He obviously wants to be a number 1 going to the World Cup. And this window has definitely done him some favours. And it's actually a good goalkeeper battle now when Joe Gauchi gets back. So it's a position Australia have been traditionally strong in down through the years. And now it looks like you've no concerns that one or the other, you'd be happy with either in them in goal the way things are going at the moment. So definitely a strong position, but a really good window for Ryan.
Where my concern is at the moment, I mean, don't get me wrong, this isn't a great Socceroos side. On paper, but where my concern does come in is that you've got love him to bits, but Cam Burgess is 29, Deganek is 31, and Jason Guerrier is 31, as far as I understand. Alex Grant came in; he's starting to get a little bit older as well. Just the next gen of defenders. Where are we going to get them from? I mean, you'd like to think that. Guys like Adriana Labib, someone like that needs to. Obviously, he's injured now, but wouldn't be there anyway. But
Sakati will be back.
Sakati, another one.
Dylan Leonard's been good for West United.
He's 17 years old.
Yeah, but in the sense of an eye for the future, though.
Oh, true.
Yeah,
How old's Kai Rolls?
26.
Yeah, so that's a good.
How old's Sutar?
Oh,
He'd be pushing 30, wouldn't he?
Yeah, I would have thought so.
Surely.
Yeah.
26.
But yeah, I mean, out and out fullbacks and just the whole defensive stock. I just don't think.
Sherwin's 23.
Sherwin?
Right.
Yeah, Geordie Boss is young.
Geordie Boss. Yeah.
I think Lewis Miller has been good.
He's got
he had a honking touch last night that played at about 15 yards in front of himself. But I think he's physical. He's got a good engine. He puts his head in set pieces. I think in Popovic's system, he's the kind of guy you want at wing back. So I think he's done pretty well. But for me, I think they lack.
He's got a real blunder in him, though.
Oh yeah. But it's less of a problem if he's playing as a wing back as opposed to a full back.
True.
And you've got a back 3 behind them. So. But I think for me, where they're really lacking is a dominant midfielder, a box to box.
Yeah.
Somebody who's both a physical. I mean, Jackson Irvine is great. And Teague is technically really good. But it's something that you see missing with a lot of international teams, and Ireland is one, not necessarily a destroyer, but and I hate to bring his name up because he's a dirty traitor bastard. But Declan Rice is that sort of guy who can pick a ball up as a 6, carry it into midfield as an 8, and even be comfortable around the box. Just one of those all round good midfielders. And they're hard to come by. Don't get me wrong, but if you put one of them into that Socceroos team, I think it makes a few other players look a bit better, and they can focus on what they're good at, like Teague, just being technically good, bouncing around. You're not expecting them to put in challenges, and even to James' point, there's not really a destroyer in there either. In a 3-5-2, you're going to play. Well, you're going to play one of your 6s. For me, ideally, would be that player who sits in front of the back 3, shields them, screens them, picks the ball up. And there probably isn't really one of
O'Neill,
them.
Maybe.
But in fairness, Papa didn't really have that
lightweight for me.
We didn't really have that sort of player when Papa introduced that system with us.
Wande.
Well, no, but like who could get the ball and then drive.
What a player!
But he was obviously good in the challenges.
No, but you go one or the other. You have somebody who can pick it up, turn, and spread the play, or you get a player who picks it up and drives. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we could do with that. Yeah.
One guy that I'm a huge fan of his and watched him come through the youth system at Glory. Is Chris Donnell playing captain of the under-21s for Fulham, and obviously. Yeah, I mean, that's someone that I'd like to see.
at Socceroos level,
Not, but it's hard to know what happens. But
Premier League.
I'd like to. Well, I mean, is under 21s level better than the A League?
Probably not.
No.
Really?
Probably not. Like in terms of preparing you for international football.
No, but I'm just
you're
saying
playing against kids your own age.
Just a standard, as a standard across.
Technically,
I mean,
it probably is better because you've got a lot of good players on the fringes of Premier League first teams there. But in terms of preparing you to go up against in these games where they're must win and whatnot, I would
even just someone that you can look at for the future. I think he's only still 22 years old or something like that.
He's younger than that. He's younger than that. But
yeah.
But see, this is part of the problem. We see 21 and 22-year-olds as young players in Europe. You're 5 years past young player and at that, and that's where. And
there might have been conversations had. There might not have been. I don't know. His name just doesn't seem to be in the window for the future. But it's probably out of sight, out of mind. A little bit of that as well.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts, boys, on the Socceroos? Of course, if we take a bit of a look
Triantis, there's the player I'd like to see.
That's a good one.
Sorry, I was trying to think who was the one that's been playing really well. Gone from centre back to a bit of a marauding six.
Yeah.
You know, and potentially somebody that
is that where he plays for Hibs?
He could be that bastard in the midfield, to be honest.
Yeah, and he's had some experience at the Championship with Sunderland as well. Yeah. So he's playing at a good level back home. He's playing at a good level and he's playing regularly as well, which I think is a big thing for any players that are going to be brought into the squad. And they're also playing a lot more games than A-League as well, right? Championship 46 games and the league season plus cup, potentially playoffs as well. Scottish League, are they still playing 36 and then they do the split? Or I don't know. I don't really pay attention to it. But and so you're playing a lot more games as well, regularly, heavier on the body. You're conditioned really well. I think he's one that definitely could be in that. When you talk about young players, probably the World Cup's probably too soon for some of them as well. Though it's a year away. How many of them are going to break into the squad, let alone the team? I think what we're seeing now with Popovic and the players he's putting his faith in is what we'll see the bulk of the World Cup squad be. I don't think we'll see many. You guys love that term, bolters. Anytime a player plays 90 minutes,
what a bolter!
Yeah, if he plays 90 minutes by the age of 23, he's a bolter.
That's it.
I don't think you'll see many of them. With Popovic, he's a tried and trusted kind of guy.
So just to wrap things up, matches against Japan to come in June and also Saudi. So looking forward to that. Japan now sit on 20 points, Jackson, am I right? All right. And Australia on 13 and Saudi on 10.
Yep.
All right. So Australia also with that +9 goal difference. So pretty much as good as a win almost in a certain way if it comes down to that. So there we go. Bit on the Socceroos. We're going to come back with our final part. We'll do it after this. You're on the Far Post Perth podcast.
Tired of the same old cookie cutter home designs? Dreaming of a space that truly reflects you? Then it's time to talk to the team at Trio Homes. Whether you're looking to build your dream home, redesign your current space, or simply renovate, Trio Homes is committed to unique designs, local personalised service and quality workmanship. And with former Perth Glory star Dino Julbich at the helm, you'll know you're getting passion and dedication built into every project. Discover the difference with Trio Homes. Visit triohomes.com.au.
What a run! This could be the one! It's in! That's what it's all about! And when it comes to sports gear that helps you perform your best, ID Athletic has the winning formula. From grassroots clubs to elite athletes, ID Athletic provides high-quality sporting apparel, screen printing, embroidery, and made-to-order promotional products. Proud sponsors of the Far Post Perth and passionate supporters of WA community sport. Visit ID Athletic at 84 Howe Street, Osborne Park, or online at idathletic.com. ID Athletic. Build your identity.
Final part of the Far Post Perth podcast. Well, boys, I guess just having a bit of a reflection on what else is happening across the weekend. Of course, the Perth Glory women final still a chance, still within a game. Can you believe it, of finals? A big 6-pointer happening this Saturday, 5 p.m. at the Sam Kerr Football Centre. So make sure you get along to that. There's some fantastic support across the weekend. And, looking forward to seeing if we can continue that at the Samco Football Centre as well. A little bit coming out of the NPL men's. There was a win on Friday night for Perth over Fremantle City. Perth Glory, a massive win over the Stirling Lions, 4-1. Great goal from Joel and
Macedonia. Donna will have your head for that.
Oh, she will actually. You know, that's how it comes up on Google still. So, blame the Googles. Olympic Kingsway, 2-0 over Sorrento. Bayswater City in a bit of a fiery one against Floreat. That was a 3-2 win for Bayswater. Perth Red Star and Armidale drew 1-1. And Western Knights beat Balcatta 1-0. So what that means as far as the table
Glory on top
is Glory lead the way. There probably needs to be a little bit of an asterisk because I don't think that will continue for the...
Why don't you think it'll continue, Blayne?
Well, because, let's be honest, the A-League players need to go on holiday. So it's always the way it goes.
You're suggesting that they're front-loading the season with their A-League players, and then when all those players go on holiday, they'll lose miserably in a relegation battle again.
I'm just suggesting it's just the way it is. I mean, it's been happening for the last 10 years or however long, is that they pick up points at the front of the season, and they pick up points at the end of the season, and they go on holidays. A-League contracted players go on holidays in the middle. It's just the way it is. Perth Azuri in second, Olympic Kingsway. Bayswater City also on 2 wins from 2. Western Knights, Perth Red Star, Armidale, Floreat, Sorrento, Stirling Lions. Stirling Macedonia, thank you. Balcatta and Fremantle City are all winless. Bit happening in the State League, Jackson?
Yeah, I got a couple of results that I'll pick out for you. Quins with a 4-2 away win over Ashfield, and then a high-scoring game down at Dalmatanac Park between Coburn and Wembley. Down 6-3 win, Coburn. And there.
They really need to turn things around, Coburn. They got a new board in. Need a big reshuffle. They've fallen twice in 2 years. So, need a bit of work.
Maybe a couple of new defenders.
They need something. Yeah, they certainly need something down there.
But I think as much as Wembley lost there, them being in the State League is a big achievement from them. As a whole, wouldn't have been one of the fancy teams to take out the Amateur Premier League last year, and there's a lot of work. Any of the clubs that have gone up into Saturday football in recent years will tell you, give it the slog, especially those that didn't have under 18s. For example, it's one of the requirements. East Perth have done it. Kingsley merged with Westside. Get up there, Joondalup United did it, and now have gone because of couldn't afford it after so many years. But anybody who goes up and competes, and you're not seeing too much of a difference in the ability of the players between Sunday Premier League and State Division 2. The teams tend to do really well when they go up. But a lot of it is the administrative side of things, and hopefully some of these...
And that's gone to another level this year as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So hopefully some of these funding initiatives that we mentioned earlier can help some of these community clubs just get better facilities, that they're better equipped when they go up to State League, because it's quite competitive in the Amateur Premier League this year. Still involved in it. And I'll just mention the big game of the weekend, the Amateur Night Series final.
It is. Are you playing in that?
No, I won't be playing.
Are you playing first or rest this year?
Well, I'm in the squad. I'm in and around wherever I'm told to play on a Sunday. The lads, it's a really, really good team at Kingsway. They're against a lot of Paddies and Emerald. But I think it's going to be a good game. I went down and watched the first team play against Kelmscott at Ashfield, and they absolutely destroyed them.
Yep, Samco Football Centre on Sunday for that Amateur Night Series Cup final, and also the Women's Hyundai League Cup final as well. So,
good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Just a little bit of the NPLW. Perth beat Fremantle City. Red Star beat UWA Netherlands 5-2. I've got a postponements from Murdoch Uni and Subi Acco, and NTC beat Balcatta 3-0. A little bit of controversy that the game was allowed to start but not finish.
Hit us with admin errors?
Due to the heat.
Oh, the heat.
So they kicked off the game and then decided that it was too hot. And
after how long?
I'm not sure. I heard
the result stands at half time, I think it is.
It must have been before that. So I don't know. This is what Google's showing that it's been postponed. So that's what I'm going off.
And just to go back to last week, we were scratching our heads about the Australia Cup results and how...
it was the
how Guelph were still in it, having lost to Joondalup City. Admin errors. We're already at the start of the season. Apparently in the Australia Cup you're only allowed to name 6 subs, whereas every other competition you're allowed to name 7. And apparently that will give you, even though they didn't play an extra sub, they played the right amount.
Yeah.
But Joondalup City
But
had named an extra, had an
yeah.
advantage by having a 7th option on the bench.
Yep.
So yeah, great to be back.
Beauty.
Local football doing things already.
Awesome. Let's have a bit of a look at the A-League women across the weekend. Western Sydney v Sydney, Sydney Derby there, Melbourne Victory v Adelaide, Perth v Canberra, 5 p.m. Saturday at the Samco Football Centre. Get along if you can. Wellington v Melbourne City, Newcastle v Western United, and Central Coast v Brisbane. Boys, some tips, please. A-League men's round 24 Friday night, Macarthur v Newcastle. In a word, James.
Draw. Macarthur with no confidence.
Macarthur based on Newcastle's last showing. Plus the fact that they're looking at changing coaches. Talk of
Mark
Milligan's going to be coming in.
Okay. I'm going to go Newcastle. I'm going to say they dig a bit deep for Rob Stanton, who many consider might have been dealt a bit of a harsh blow considering what he's done with not much this year. Wellington v Western Sydney, first game on the Saturday, the early one.
Wanderers.
Yeah, Wanderers.
Yep.
Wanderers have come good for me. Sydney v Melbourne City on the Saturday.
Sydney.
Yep, Sydney, convincingly.
Draw.
Yeah, I'm going to draw as well. Melbourne Victory v Adelaide, the original rivalry happening at Amy Park. This is always a bit fiery.
Not convinced, but victory.
Nice scoring.
Yeah, draw. Draw as well.
No, I'm going Victory at home. I think Adelaide's off the boil. Central Coast v Perth, boys.
No comment. Mariners.
Glory.
Mariners will have no reason to back Glory.
Draw for me. Brisbane v Auckland, last game on the Sunday.
Auckland. No.
This is a tough
Draw.
one. When I first looked at this, I even
Back-to-back wins for Brisbane, maybe.
No, draw. I'm not that confident in Brisbane, but I think draw.
bold prediction tip: Brisbane to beat Auckland. Auckland to win the championship, but get beaten by the two bottom sides.
They've got the buffer to be able to, lose
I
all
think
games.
I think that probably buys into it a little bit. At some point, you start looking one eye towards finals. Not necessarily resting players at that, but yeah, who cares if you draw a game?
See, that's a bit of common sense there, Neil. Mine's just throwing it out there into the universe and seeing what sticks. But anyway, big thank you to ID Athletic. Big thank you to Trio Homes. Big thank you to James Renton and Jaxon Bassett and Neil Sherwin. Don't forget to tell all your mates about the podcast. Tell your mum, tell your nana. Available on Spotify, on Apple and YouTube Music. And we'll see you next Tuesday for more here on the Far Post Perth podcast.